Hello and welcome to News 6 Extra. I am streaming executive producer Thomas Mates, filling in for Julie Broughton. She's filling in this morning for Chief Meteorologist Candace Campos. Perhaps you just saw her on the noon. So you'll be seeing her again tomorrow here on News 6 Extra. She's back. Michelle Morgan will be in for Candace Campos. And this evening you'll see Jonathan Kegas starting on News 6 at 4. We've got a lot to get to today. We're going to be looking back at Hurricane Milton when it hit. News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden got a chance to speak to some firefighters in DeLand who had to go into some high water to rescue people. They retelling their story nearly a year later as we enter into another hurricane season. We're also going to be looking at a special summer camp that is giving kids a lot of opportunities while also teaching them about the game of golf, but so much more. Crystal Moyer has that story. And News 6 anchor Matt Austin is going to be looking at the last patch of undeveloped space in Avalon Park and what it will eventually become. All that's coming up in just a few minutes. But if you're looking outside today, it is not too bad. It's you'll see some patches of sun, some patches of clouds out there right now. If we take a live look at Daytona Beach, you see there's still some people out there enjoying themselves. But today's probably going to go downhill by the afternoon. We're going to see some storms, and then into the overnight hours and your early morning commute tomorrow, it is going to be wet. It is going to be stormy, and we want to make sure you're prepared. So we turn to the man who's always prepared, News 6 meteorologist David Nazario. David, how are you doing?
I'm doing great after that intro, Thomas. Thank you so much for that. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. It's Tuesday. The week's starting to ramp up, so we're getting there. But it's not too bad at the moment. So what we've been stressing today is that our normal rainy pattern of the afternoon storms isn't going to hold tomorrow, and it's going to be maybe a little bit of a shock for people on their morning commute if they're not prepared.
Absolutely. And in fact, even earlier this morning, I woke up sometime around 3:45, 4 a.m. I'm usually on the road no later than 4:30, 4:45 to get a workout in before getting here into the studio. And even then, it was already pouring rain. This morning, I was driving up I-4, and I'm like, okay, this is getting a little treacherous. Some folks, they struggle a little bit when there's some rain coming down, and that could definitely be a bit more immense in terms of how heavy the rain is coming down tomorrow. Let's get you over to the radar right now, and you can kind of see, kind of like what Thomas led the way with, Daytona Beach is in between cells, is what we'll say. You can see off towards the southeast of Daytona Beach, we have some stuff headed in, so those folks at the beach right now are probably going to be packing it in here within the next hour or so. And you can see down near our neck of the woods here in Orlando, Apopka, just south of Deltona, in Sanford, or not in Sanford, but in Seminole County, and then further down towards the Lake Toho area of Kissimmee, Osceola County, we've got some more showers and some isolated thunderstorms working in. And that is going to increase as we go over the next 24 hours. We have a couple different mechanisms at play right now. A little bit of an upper level low off our west coast, high up in the atmosphere, helping to tickle the environment a little bit. And then we have that area of interest highlighted by National Hurricane Center, which is remnants of a decaying frontal boundary that brought us a bunch of rain this past weekend. So let's get you over to the clouds and rain immediately. Let's break it all down. You can see for the day today, the showers are really going to start to increase in general coverage as we go through the evening hours. And then tomorrow morning, notice that a lot of the rainfall quickly builds back in, some heavier pockets as well. Now, this is, I will mention, our in-house model. It tends to break up some of the rainfall a little bit sooner, but if I were to show you other models like the Rapid Refresh thunderstorm model or the NAM, the North American model, a couple of different models that we tend to utilize when we're zoomed into this perspective, it shows a widespread swath of light to moderate rainfall building in early morning tomorrow between the hours of 2 to 4 a.m. for some of us. And then we're rocking, as you can see here, as we go through the early to middle portions of your Wednesday. All thanks to that upper low combining with that little area of interest off the East Coast. Thankfully, though, you look here, this is good news because we have all that moisture and a lot of the influence has already come down in terms of diminishing the energy available for thunderstorms to get really strong. Storm Prediction Center doesn't have us under the threshold for any severe weather. But again, with weather, it's always a give and take. You look at the excessive rainfall outlook from WPC Weather Prediction Center for the day today. Our folks down there in southern Brevard, Osceola, and Polk, and even to our neighbors out west in Hillsborough, Pinellas County, we're under the gun for a marginal risk for excessive rainfall leading to flash flooding. And that only continues to expand even further tomorrow. The entirety of Florida, as both of these entities, both above ground level and down here at the surface level, get going and start to really increase our rainfall totals. You can see here, according to the GFS, we're not looking at too much, which I'll go ahead and take myself back on screen. And I'll kind of give you this face because the GFS, if you've been paying attention on social media, has been bullseyeing us for a hurricane for the last week and some change. Obviously, that's not going to take shape, but it's a little bizarre to see we go from one extreme to another. Now we actually have real-time phenomena influencing our weather in Central Florida, but it's calling for marginal, if not trace amounts of rainfall for us. So with that, we turn our attention to our in-house rainfall model, and you notice vastly different song and dance. You can see Orlando getting upwards of around 2 inches, and I have it zoomed out so you can kind of see all the mechanisms at play here. You got a little bit of the influence from the Eastern Gulf, and then you also have that little AOI, that area of low pressure that's forecast to form right off the coast of West Palm Beach, as a matter of fact. And look at what our in-house model is doing down there. Almost 10 inches of rain, because these showers are going to be bubbling up off the coast, working their way in, and they're not really going to be going anywhere anytime soon. Now, it is that time of the year. We're 3 days into the hurricane season. We do have this little tyke off our east coast, a very broad, disorganized area of disturbed weather. That's all we're calling it right now. And National Hurricane Center does emphasize in their discussion this is a non-tropical area of low pressure. I've put out a couple of stories over on clickorlando.com or the News 6 app, kind of discussing where these things tend to come from. And then earlier today, I put out an article kind of breaking down just how common this is. This isn't out of the ordinary or rare, especially for the first portions of the hurricane season. It's only given about a 10 for 10 shot over the next 2 days, up to 7 days. 10% of actually trying to do more than just dump a bunch of rain on us, maybe cause a little bit of beach erosion as it moves further up the coast, and also increase our rip current risk. We want to be very close attention to that as well. Now, taking a look at the euro, if you notice, it does try to take on a bit of a broad circulation center, especially right there as it's off the coast of Cape Hatteras, a very lopsided system. You can see all the showers and storms off to its east side, but there is that pronounced counterclockwise spin right there, pretty much directly overhead the Cape Hatteras area. That's why National Hurricane Center has this highlighted to begin with. It's expected to break away from those chains, if you will, the front down at the surface and the upper low off towards its west, and become its own little entity. And that's typically part of the things we look for when we're trying to determine if this could go subtropical or full-fledged tropical. I personally don't think it's going to get a name. We shall see, but I don't think it's going to steal the first name on the list. And then finally, to kind of tie it all up into a bundle, we still have a lot of the Saharan dust out there. And you can see as we go through the end of this week into the weekend, it will be directly overhead, kind of diminishing our rain coverage, how much of the rain we see as we go through Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So we'll have to see what that does for us. Could bring our air quality down quite a bit, so we got to be careful with that. Anybody out there with asthma, COPD, or any other respiratory ailments, you want to keep a close eye on this, maybe stay indoors, or perhaps don the mask once again, just like back in our COVID era. And then last but certainly not least, let's get you over to your extended range forecast for the next 3 days. Wednesday is going to be the main event as things really begin to boil over, not only along our west coast, but especially our immediate east coast. And then finally, last but not least, you take a look ahead at the weekend, you can see those rain chances finally do start to come down, because we're in between systems. And then by next week, it looks like maybe you return to form to your afternoon sea breeze, thunderstorms, and showers as usually anticipated.
Yeah, that tomorrow's looking like it's going to be wet for sure. And
Yep.
So to that end, we're actually going to be adding a little bit to our coverage tomorrow. Trooper Steve is set to be out on the roads, giving you a firsthand perspective of what the conditions are out on the asphalt. So you'll want to tune in for that, and that'll be starting on News 6 at 5 a.m. As you mentioned before, you were keeping an eye on that little tyke, as you called it, off our coast. But you said before you'd written up an article talking about how this is not wholly uncommon. Tell us just a little bit more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. So There's kind of little phrases we use for different portions of the hurricane season. If you've been tracking the tropics with us for a little while now, and that was kind of the main reason I wrote the article, we get a large influx of new folks to Central Florida, whether they just be here for the tourist attractions, the theme parks. I was going to say the amusement parks, almost garbled my words there. But the attractions, the tourist industry, especially now that we're in summer vacation, and that's, leading into the peak of the hurricane season. During June and maybe the first week or so of July, we call that homegrown season, where you get pieces of energy or pieces of leftover spin that plop themselves off the United States coast over hot water, and we have a lot of it close to home right now. And they'll eventually develop a bit of a spin. And then obviously August, September, October, you have the waves coming off of Africa. We call that long track season because now we can see the waves coming from literally 1,000 miles away. Then as we get into the fall time, we get back to more of a kind of a combo. You still have some waves out there, but then you also have the energy pieces coming off the United States. So you get a mixed bag of things close to home and then out there over the main development region of the Atlantic, as it's called.
Gotcha. And as you said, like these homegrown ones, they're over hot water, but they don't have quite as far to travel. So that's why the beginning of the season tends to be a little weaker. And then those long track storms, as you said, since they have more time to build up steam, that's when we start to get a little more concerned towards the August, October, the peak of hurricane season, as we call it.
Exactly, yeah. And I want to add on to that because there's one little metaphor I love to use, and that's called the tropical lottery. Sometimes, and actually part of the article I put out today, we've actually had the same named storm, believe it or not. Arthur was the name, form in the exact same spot over different portions of just the years, the last 2 decades. 2 of them very disorganized, very sloppy, one of which looks very close to what we have out there even now. But then there was one that made it all the way to Category 2 strength before making landfall in North Carolina. So just like with Hurricane Beryl last year, if you win that lottery per the tropics, sometimes anything's possible. But, Thomas, you're definitely right. Most of the time, they're just sloppy rainmakers, a little bit of wind, but a lot of water with these features.
Yeah, definitely still something to pay attention to. It can be trouble spot for coastal communities. And as you said, those rip currents are tough. And, as we get into summer, more and more tourists are going to be hitting our beaches along with, the locals as well. But David, thank you so much for your time. Again, people can find that right now on clickorlando.com, and the video is up on demand if you click the weather tab on the News 6 Plus app. David, thank you again for your time and your expertise.
Of course, Thomas. Have a great rest of your day. Thanks for your time.
You as well. As we said, we are in the thick of hurricane season now. Well, 3 days in, but we're in hurricane season now. And we know that the last big storm to hit us last year was Milton. It caused problems all across Central Florida, particularly in spots like DeLand, where neighborhoods were just underwater. News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden got the chance to speak with some firefighters who were part of the high water rescues out there. This is what they experienced last October.
When Hurricane Milton swept through DeLand, the rain came fast and didn't let up.
Very, very high amounts of rain in a short amount of time.
Fire Chief Todd Allen says what happened during Hurricane Milton is something he will never forget.
An area of the city that was inundated with water, and typically that doesn't happen in DeLand. We do get areas that do flood. We do get water into homes. But to have a complete neighborhood, that was a little bit unusual for us.
That neighborhood was Glen Eagles. From the sky, only rooftops were visible. People were trapped inside their homes, some even in their attics.
They'd been up there for hours.
Deputy Chief Justin Deasy could barely believe his eyes.
That was really the first time I think we've experienced that type of flooding in DeLand. We'd never had anything like that.
Chief Allen says his team had trained for a moment they hoped would never come.
Our folks went to work right away. They teamed up with the police department and they went in to the water.
And I remember walking into some homes where you were actually having to push floating furniture out of the way.
Firefighters say what they experienced that day will stay with them, especially when they started rescuing people from their homes.
I don't think they really knew what to do. They had water in the house. I don't think they really knew where to go or how to get out of there. When we told them we were there to help them to get out, they were super relieved, I think very pleased to see us.
For their courage and commitment, all 3 firefighters received the Distinguished Service Medal. Chief Allen says these men put their community first, no hesitation, no second thoughts.
They didn't for 1 minute think that they shouldn't enter that water and go get those people.
I was more concerned on once we found the people, how to get them out of there. There were strong swimmers? How comfortable were they with walking?
In all, with help from DeLand police officers, these firefighters rescued 14 people from the rising waters. A day they'll always remember, but hope they'll never see again.
That was News 6 anchor Ginger Gadsden reporting. Now, as we have been stressing since last week, hurricane season is here, and it is now the time to get prepared before a storm is on the way. And to help you out with that, you can head to clickorlando.com/hurricane. We have a wealth of resources. One, looking at, just different climatological terms that you need to know, and different areas that are likely to see development over the next few days or weeks early in this hurricane season. You can find all of this again at clickorlando.com/hurricane. We also have lists of ways to help you get prepared, things to pack in your hurricane kit. It is an invaluable resource. clickorlando.com/hurricane. We're going to take a quick break, but when we come back, we'll be taking a look at the last piece of undeveloped space in Avalon Park and what's going to be happening with it. We'll also be looking at this special golf camp that is helping kids do way more than just improve their putting game. That's all coming up in just about 2 minutes. Just did.
Hey, it's Barbara.
Hi.
How you doing? It's Eric Von Anken, the handy newsman with Destiny, of
Hi,
course.
Destiny.
You got a holy house.
I sure do. Let me show you.
Show me.
Oh, I have this one. Here's one.
Okay.
One here.
Okay.
And here.
Okay.
And here.
Okay.
And.
But wait, there's more.
And here.
Okay.
I have a holy house.
Sure do. I think this is 5 or so, right?
Yes.
I should have enough patches. We're going to do everything we can for you to get results at your home.
Thank you.
Okay, first I got to tell you, there's a whole bunch of different ways out there to repair cracks and holes in vinyl siding. The right way to do it is to pull off a panel and replace it entirely, but that takes some knowledge and skill, and of course it costs money. So I did some research for you. I found out that there are patches out there. This is the #1 rated vinyl siding repair kit on Amazon right now, and it's only $7.99. We're gonna give it a shot. Step 1 is to clean the area. Step 2 is to cut it down to size. Destiny, would you pass me the scissors, please?
Sure. Eric, here you go.
Thank you.
Those are my favorite color, remember? Eric, what happened?
What do you mean, what happened? I think it looks kind of great.
Yeah, but it was pink. It was pink. Pink's my favorite color.
Can't help you there. Step 3, we peeled off the backing. We're going to put it in place, and we're going to press. And here's your house hack. The more you press on the patch, the more the wood grain pattern starts to come through. On to the next. That's all 5. Let's get Barbara. Well, Barbara, how'd we do?
Nice. I like it.
Better, right?
Much better. Much.
And you can paint it to match, by the way. And I'll be straight with you, this is our first time ever trying these, so we're gonna check back with Barbara in about a year to see if they held up. For now, we got results at home?
Yes, definitely.
I like your pink, by the way.
Thank you.
That was News 6 anchor Eric Von Aken, and if you are interested in finding those vinyl patches, he has a link on our website, clickorlando.com. You can also find step-by-step instructions on how to use those. Avalon Park is a big development that used to be just a bare patch of land in East Orlando, but it is grown and grown. But there is still one patch that is undeveloped, a large grassy field, but it's not going to stay around. It's not going to stay undeveloped for much longer. News 6 anchor Matt Austin went to find out exactly what's going to be happening with it.
Avalon Park is now home to nearly 20,000 people.
Avalon Park is awesome. We really lucked out finding this place.
How long have you been in Avalon Park?
I have lived here my entire life. So
Really?
20 years.
More than 1,800 acres have been developed here, and only 5 remain untouched. This patch of ground near downtown.
No one that I talk to knows what is going on that field. I just know that it's been an empty field the whole time.
Yeah. What do you think about having this field in the middle of Avalon Park?
It'd be an amazing field if they just let us keep it and let us do stuff out here, like training and a bunch of stuff. So.
But what do you think is going to happen in the future?
Putting more houses up.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah. The man who turned a crazy idea into this bustling community is Beat Kali, a former Swiss banker turned land developer.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, if you would have told me when I was in high school in Zurich, Switzerland, you will end in East Orlando. You will stay there for a quarter century or more. Build a town from scratch. First question would have been, where is Orlando? Is that in Italy? Sounded like Italian, Orlando, So
Kali says there's no mystery as to why this lot is still bare.
It's coincidence, I would say.
Really?
So
It's
there
just
wasn't,
coincidence, yeah.
no, there wasn't some particular reason that we said, let's wait with this parcel and develop this first.
The southern portion of the lot has recently been permitted for townhouses. The northern portion, after all these years, is still up in the air. It will most likely become independent living. But Kali says one feature he wants for sure.
I want to still do an Olympic-sized swimming pool for the community at large, and we are still thinking about, to have that.
At some point, this land will be covered. It will serve as the final piece of a puzzle Kali has been working on for more than 25 years.
100 cows, 2,000 acres, 20,000 people, and a quarter century in between.
He hopes it will be a place where people can live from birth all the way to the end of life.
There is an assisted living facility, a memory care facility. If you ever need that, it's across the street.
I'm hoping that everything is still going to be, not too overly crowded. There'll still be decent places to park, and it'll still be safe to ride our bikes here.
That was News 6 anchor Matt Austin reporting. We are now in summer, and a lot of parents need a space to have their kids go where they can stay out of trouble and maybe learn some new skills. There is a special camp out in Brevard County that does just that. It's a golf camp, but it is teaching kids way more than just how to improve their short game. News 6 insider guide and anchor Crystal Moyer got the chance to go check it out. Here's her story.
It's more than just getting the ball in the hole. I'm News 6 anchor Crystal Moyer, and lessons learned go beyond the green here in Cocoa at the Fred Gay Golf Academy with its annual youth golf camp.
To, have patience and, accept that there are going to be mistakes made and, there's going to be trial and error.
I've learned patience, attitude, always have faith and trust in God.
Life lessons gained as the 31st year of the P.J. Wilson and Henry Scott Youth Golf Camp gets underway. Each year, the camp hosting about 100 kids and teens for free. Juan Diego Jordan attending for 8 years now.
I thought golf was going to be a boring sport, but then I slowly started to like it.
Rustin Clark, attending as a camper for several years, turns volunteer coach this year. Tell me how you feel kind of being able to share your experiences and teach other kids.
I see a lot of these younger kids and I kind of see myself in them because they're also wanting to learn the game. Being able to help them, give like my advice, my experience, is something that I really, really like. I just like to give back to the camp, especially what they gave for me.
Rustin says along with confidence, the camp also awarded him a full scholarship to Eastern Florida State College. He's now a student working on his degree in sports management.
It was just like, wow, that's a huge financial advantage for me.
The camp offering scholarship opportunities yearly to high school seniors who attend. As a new group of campers tee up, organizers are excited to not only introduce the game of golf to some of the kids, but help drive their future.
Watching young children excel not only in a sport that's sometimes uncommon, but also about life choices and about the opportunities that are provided to them at Eastern Florida State College.
In Brevard County, your Cocoa community correspondent, Crystal Moyer, News 6.
That'll do it for us here on News 6 Extra. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back starting on News 6 at 4. News 6 meteorologist Jonathan Kagas will be in to take a look ahead to your forecast for tomorrow morning. The commute may be a little rough for some people as that rain's going to be coming down. And, of course, we will have Trooper Steve out on the road during all of that as well. Of course, we'll have the rest of the day's headlines for you. Thank you so much for joining us. See us on News 6 at 4. Have a great day.